The more compatible you are with your partner, the greater the likelihood that your relationship will last the test of time and be not just satisfactory, but amazingly wonderful for both of you. So that's why it's so important to pick and choose the right partner before entering into a long-term relationship. Now, what does that look like? How do you know if you found the right person? What does it mean to be compatible with someone? How do you know if you're setting yourself up for a lifetime of enrichment and growth or a lifetime of bickering and controversy? This is extremely confusing because, especially at the beginning of a new relationship, we are all flooded with hormones and feelings and thoughts and emotions that blind us from actually seeing what's right here, what's in front of us. I have 5 tips and a system for objectively evaluating that person right in front of you, the person across the table from you at dinner, so you can know wholeheartedly and truly whether or not they are the right person for you. If you go through this process, you'll be able to see that person for who they are, free from the emotions and free from the flood of chemicals that we all get, especially early on, that would tell us to go forward and ignore the red flags and do this. So that's why it's important to step back and be analytical and objective in making this lifelong decision. Think of it this way. You are interviewing that person and you're evaluating them to see if they're worthy or if they qualify to spend the rest of their life with you. Are they worthy of your time? Are they worthy of your affection and of your love? And this may sound selfish, but it's important to be selfish and it's counterintuitive, but the more you stick to your guns and the more you go for what you want and make sure you get what you want, the happier the both of you are going to be in the long run. And that's because mutual affection is very easily perceived in a relationship. Someone knows and someone can feel if you adore them, trust them, and love them. And that will give them comfort and security, and they'll return that to you. They'll express those same emotions at that same level or even greater. Where on the other hand, if you've settled or if you've made a compromise and there are some things that are just not quite right, there's an element of dissatisfaction that will be communicated to that partner, and then they will feel that, and that will cause insecurities and problems and things that will need to be fixed later on down the road. So let's get into the tips. One of the most important things to do is to eliminate fear from your decision-making process. And here, what we're doing is we're making sure we don't settle. The reason why a lot of people settle is because fear creeps in and they become afraid that if they don't go for that person right there, right now, that they will never come across anyone as good in the future, or they may never come across anyone ever again. That is completely incorrect. Your path will cross with many people in the future who would want to spend their time with you. Don't think for a moment that it's this person or nothing. Don't think that at all, because that's simply not the case. What we need to do is we need to eliminate fear from our decision-making process. Now, this is different from getting rid of all fear whatsoever. That's very difficult and takes a long time to do. But learning how to remove fear when we make a choice, that's much easier and takes only a few moments of thought and concentration when the time arises. Now, what does this look like? How do you eliminate fear from the decision-making process? Well, when you sit down and you think about your partner, if there's something negative that comes to the surface, something that you could live without, or something that you just don't care for in that person, you have to decide if that's a deal breaker or something you can live with. If you decide it's something you can live with or something you can tolerate, now here's the critical moment. Are you living with that, or are you making this decision because in fact it is not that big of a deal and it's just a minor bump in the road of dating? Or are you saying, I can live with this because I'm afraid if I don't, I won't find someone else. I'm afraid I'll be alone forever if I don't accept this about the other person. If that's the case, what you need to do is you need to immediately take whatever that issue is and put it into the deal breaker category. You need to take that negative aspect and realize that it will never work out, it will never get resolved, and turn that into a reason to go out and find a different partner. And you will. You will come across another partner in your life. It's just a matter of time. And there's a very good chance that the next person won't have that issue, won't have that negative aspect. And already you have set yourself up for a greater potential of happiness. Tip number 2. And I have to admit, I've heard a lot of people say, don't do this. But if you do not do this, you're setting yourself up for settling or not making an informed decision, and that is make a checklist. Before you go out and you start dating someone, or even if you're already in a relationship with someone, make a checklist of everything that you have to have in a partner, everything that must be there, as well as everything that cannot be there. So for example, if you want to be with someone that is a good communicator, or you know that it's not going to work out, item number 1 on your checklist is they must be a good communicator. The criticism against checklists is people say you're being too picky, or deal with what's right in front of you. No, that's completely wrong. You have the duty to be picky, and you have the right to choose from the millions of people out there the exact correct one for you. Because as I said earlier, the more selfish you are in this process, and the more you stick to your guns, the happier both of you are going to be in the long run. You're not doing this just for you, for yourself. You're not making this checklist just to make you happy. You are making yourself happy and directly making that other person happy because you've done the hard work of setting both of you up for a fantastic relationship and finding that perfect partner for yourself. And the happier you are, the happier they're going to be in that relationship. So make a checklist. It can be as short as you want. It can be as long as you want, but stick to it. And don't be afraid to turn people away if they don't meet every single requirement or reason for rejection on that list. You have to do this. It's so important. Just as a side note, try to keep the list limited to just the most important things for you. This is going to help you out quite a bit. These are things that you either can't live with or can't live without. Like, for example, one big item that comes up in many couples' relationships is whether or not to have children. That can often cause an end to some of the long-term relationships if they don't see eye to eye. So you may, if you're emphatic and if you love children and if you have to have them in your life, that should go on the list. Similarly, if you love to be close to family, if you need to stay in a certain part of the country and can't move away, that should be on your list as well. The other person should want to live close to where you want to live. The things that should stay off are the little or more trivial things, like which way they put the toilet paper on the roll, the over or the under. I mean, we all know that the over way is much better anyway, so I don't know why that's an issue. No, just kidding. But try and leave off those little things, the little things that are just inconsequential in the grand scheme of life or don't mean that much to you. Leave those off the list. Tip number 3, trust in not trusting yourself. When you're in the first part of a relationship, it's extremely difficult to think and see with a clear, level head. And what you want to do is you want to realize that, and you want to trust in the opinions of your friends and family. They are 100% invested in you and are going to be the most vocal and truthful critic of your partner, of anyone you can find. When we're first starting to date someone, we have a tendency to see them through rosy glasses. And that's partly chemical. It's because of the hormones flooding through us. It's because of the novelty of the relationship. It's because of a lot of hopeful thinking, and we may miss things. Between the 3rd and 5th date, before you truly start to fall in love and before you become absolutely committed, arrange for your prospect, your potential partner out there, that prospective partner, to meet your friends and meet your family and listen to what they have to say afterwards. If 5 of your friends are saying, this person is great, that's wonderful, go ahead, I see nothing wrong, that's a good sign, listen to them. If 2 out of 5 friends say, I think you should run, then you run. If 1 out of 5 of your friends say you should run, you should run. There needs to be a unanimous decision on the part of your friends and family. That one vocal person who's standing up and saying, I see this is a problem, could be the one that's saving you from a terrible breakup down the road. You have to listen to them. It's very tempting to say, oh, well, they're jealous or they don't see it like I see it. No, they're not. They only want what's best for you. They're jealous, but for your feelings. They want you not to be hurt and they want you to be happy. Forget about the one friend who's standing in the corner and says, oh, whatever you think, I just want you to be happy. No, ignore that person. You have to get strong, direct advice from your friends. If you have someone that you know is a spoken critic, isn't afraid to let their true emotions out and tell you exactly how it is, that's the first person that should be meeting your prospective partner. You want that friend or that family member there on date number 3, sitting at the table with you and seeing what they think. That's the number 1 person you want around. So have the most critical people there with you to help you make the decision. Because when it comes to relationships, we have a tendency, and everyone does this, to make the wrong one based off of emotion, based off of desire, lust, fear of being alone. There's a lot of reasons why we tend not to see what we're looking at. Tip number 4, and this is going to sound so simplistic, but it's so difficult to do in the moment, and that is, do not ignore red flags. Any of them whatsoever. This is similar to what I said about making a checklist and not ignoring what you have to have or cannot live with. But these are unexpected items that may come up, or unexpected character traits, or anything that develops as you're starting to go out with this person and starting to date them. If there's a red flag, pay attention to it. Take action on it. Don't think that you can change that person down the road or that you will learn to live with it. That's never how it works out. Any red flag that you ignore now isn't going to go away. It's going to become a source of frustration and irritation down the road. And those feelings of frustration and irritation are just going to grow over time. They're going to get bigger and expand. They're not going to shrink and magically go away. That's just not how it works. And if you're wondering whether or not you will see red flags, yes, you will. If there's a red flag to be seen, you will see it, and you will sometimes feel it. It'll almost feel like a punch to the gut, and how strong of a reaction you have to it. Don't ignore that. Before I get to tip 5, are you guys ready for the plot twist? Here it is, plot twist. Take what I just said about the red flags and not ignoring those, and then take what I said about the checklist and making sure you stick to it, and throw all of that advice away when it comes to going out on a first date. When you're deciding whether or not to go out with someone on the first date, not a second or third date, but the very first time you meet them, throw away everything you've heard about them. It's all secondhand, it may not be true, and you will need to find these things out directly from that person. There could be some mistakes going on from what you hear from other people. There could be some misinterpretations, and it's your job to get in front of that person and see for yourself if there's any validity to what's been said. You have to be there in person to evaluate someone. You can't do it through a third party. And here's something else. The more first dates you get on, so let me back up a little bit. Dating is hard. It's difficult. Very few of us are born with the skills to be good at dating. I sure wasn't. It takes practice like anything else, and the more you do it, the better at it you get. So the more first dates you go on, the better you're going to get at dating. And by better, I mean the more quickly you will be able to realize if there's anything wrong, or the more quickly you'll be able to realize if you should move forward in the relationship. The better at developing the skills to find out about a person. It can also help to remove some of that fear, some of that social anxiety that we all have when it comes to meeting someone for the first time. You could get more comfortable with the idea of sitting down with a stranger over a cup of coffee, or on a park bench, or over dinner, and just getting to know them without having that, what am I doing, feelings of panic that tend to well up when we're not feeling comfortable. So the plot twist is, when it comes to first dates, don't be picky, don't be choosy. Save that for the second and on dates. And also, getting in front of a person for a first date will help you get better at dating, so it will be easier in the long run to find that perfect person, to find that partner. Tip number 5, and this is the last tip because this is the last in the selection process. It takes time to get to that point, but tip number 5 is to look for masks and look for people that are disingenuous. There's a tendency in people to be what they think the other person wants. If you sit down with someone and say to them, I'm looking for a partner that loves horses and would love to travel, and I really enjoy parachuting. You know what? You're going to find out that you're sitting across the table from someone that loves horses, wants to travel a whole bunch, and also loves parachuting. What do you know? What are the odds of that? They may not even consciously be aware that they're giving back to you what they think you want to hear. What they're doing is they're putting up a mask and being someone who is not their true selves. They're being disingenuous. So it can take time for these masks to drop and for you to get a view of the real person and see them for who they actually are. Now, generally, masks drop between 6 and 9 months. 9 months at the very longest. There may be an occasional holdout who can pretend to be someone they're not for a full year, but that takes a lot of work, and you're going to start seeing cracks in the facade much before that. But between 3 and 6 months, a lot of people, especially when you're only seeing each other once or twice a week, can keep up a mask. Sometimes all you can do is be patient and give it time to see how the relationship develops. In other words, keep the evaluation process going for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year. Just as a small communication tip, especially in the first half dozen or less dates. Don't tell someone what you like and what you're looking for in a partner. Ask them questions about what their interests are. What are they looking for in a partner? What do they feel is important? Because that's not going to give them the material that they're going to parrot back to you subconsciously or consciously in an effort to woo you or attract your attention. By asking them questions, you get a much better chance to feel out who they are and see what their own true personal opinions are. That's just a little small conversation tip. So those are the 5 best ways to decide if you have found your lifelong partner. Now remember, no one is completely perfect. There will always be little things that could use adjustment. Even if you guys decide to go ahead and take the next steps towards marriage or towards a long-term relationship or continuing dating for years and years, it's going to take work. Even with the best partner in the world for you, it will take work. It's not going to be a free pass. It's not going to be a dream. But what it will be is it will be an incredibly rewarding experience that will help you grow and help that other person grow. And you're going to love doing it together. Just keep in mind that there will be little bumps along the way and there will be arguments, which is in fact very healthy. Just remember that when an argument takes place, it doesn't mean you're not with the best partner for you. It just means you're with another individual. You're not with a copy of yourself. You're with an individual, and an argument is merely a way of you two working together to come onto the same page and have the same viewpoint about that particular issue. It's a good thing when you argue, trust me. And as one final takeaway, remember when you're out and you're on one of the early dates with them, don't think to yourself, oh boy, I hope they like me. The correct frame of mind is, oh boy, I sure hope I like them. That's how you should be thinking about it. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, any concerns, anything I can help you out with, please drop it in the comments below. Please hit subscribe so I can continue to bring you more advice about having the most fulfilling, wonderful, long-term relationship you possibly can. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.